Good morning. Today we are going to be reading from Revelation chapter 12. A couple things that I'll remind us as we begin this reading is to remember that there's a lot of language in this that had symbolism that would have been very familiar to the original readers, but might be kind of foreign to us. A couple things that I'll call out is to remember that anytime we hear the word seven, the number seven, that this is a reference to the number of perfection, often a reference to God or to Jesus. Another thing is to remember that things like horns represent power, eyes represent knowledge. So seven and horns means something that's all powerful, often again a reference to God in the coded language here. Reference to seven eyes, things like that, always to all knowing. So that omniscient, all-knowing, beginning and end, God of all is a lot of what is referred to when we hear those words. Another thing I'll say about this text is there's a dragon in it. And when I was first taking my Bible content exam, one of the questions on it was, how long was the dragon bound in Revelation? And my thought was, there's a dragon in my Bible? So you may also have that thought as we read this text. And I will just say, yes, there is a dragon in your Bible. So now listen now for this reading of the 12th chapter of the book of Revelation. A great portent appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant and was crying out in birth pangs, in the agony of giving birth. Then another portent appeared in heaven, a great red dragon, with 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his heads. His tail swept down a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. Then the dragon stood before the woman who was about to deliver a child, so that he might devour her child as soon as it was born. And she gave birth to a son, a male child, who is to rule all the nations with a scepter of iron. But her child is snatched away and taken to God and to the throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, so that there she can be nourished for 1,260 days. The war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The dragon and his angels fought back, but they were defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. The great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven proclaiming, "Now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of the Messiah. For the accuser of our siblings has been thrown down, who accuses them day and night before our God. But they have conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. For they did not cling to life even in the face of death. Rejoice then, you heavens, and those who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you with great wrath, because he knows that his time is short." So when the dragon saw that he had been thrown down to the earth, he pursued the woman who had delivered the male child. But the woman was given the 2 wings of the great eagle, so that she could fly from the serpent into the wilderness, to her place where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time. Then from his mouth the serpent poured water like a river after the woman, to sweep her away with the flood. But the earth came to the help of the woman. It poured its mouth and swallowed the river, opened its mouth and swallowed the river that the dragon had poured from his mouth. Then the dragon was angry with the woman and went off to wage war on the rest of her children, those who keep the commandments of God and hold the testimony of Jesus. Then the dragon took his stand on the sand of the seashore. That is the end of the 12th chapter of Revelation. I invite you to come again to hear the next reading that will be the 13th chapter, where we will hear more about what happens with this dragon. Peace be with you.